Kevin Neidig, We Love Guitar Nerds, welcomes you. I'm a fan of what you do. I don't even try to compete with you because of all the great stuff that you're doing. Um, all I say about Kevin Neidig is I'm different than he is. Because all the great acoustic stuff that and Gypsy Jazz, and you're an educator, you're a songwriter, you're a singer, you're a performer, you're producer. You're producing your own stuff now.
Yep.
Okay, is that new?
I've been making my own CDs since my first solo release. I think that was 2009. So
okay. Do you have your own studio now, or are you just
you're in it?
That's it. Okay. All right. What are you doing now?
At this moment, actually, just before I got on to you, I'm working on a new song that I have a subscription service on my website that's called Instrumental Monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've been doing is so because of the lack of gigs, I thought, well, I'll just have a subscription service where I'll release a brand new song every month, and I'll do like a video of behind the scenes, talk about the songs, like all of that kind of exclusive content.
Mm-hmm.
That if somebody subscribes, it's like a pay what you want kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And so I've been doing that since January, and so now I'm working on the 7th song, and right. Yeah, it's crazy because it's really allowing me to kind of just do whatever I want.
Right.
And because I'm not like, oh, I got to get this song for an album, this song for an album. It's like as I go. So every song I can just kind of create it in its own thing. It doesn't have to fit into anything else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to make, okay, this song is just clawhammer banjo. This song has a little bit of a bluegrass feel. This song is more of a jazzy feel. I'm like doing everything because I like everything.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like just stay in one genre.
You're my tribe. You are, because that's I'm always saying it's all about the mix. Okay.
But not everybody says that.
Huh?
Not everybody says that. They're like, oh, you're too far out. You're playing too many different styles. I can't handle that. I can't handle anything any more than just one thing.
Yeah. No, it's like some people define their style by the number of things they don't listen to. Like most music sucks, so they're not going to be inspired by it. Like all I like is punk rock and 60s garage. Okay, so everything I write comes from that place. My thing, and I think your thing, is we take it from everything. And it's not just I'm going to write a thing in this style, but I'm going to mix this style with this style, maybe not even on purpose, but because you're familiar with both styles, you can fudge things, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think for me, I do that in just about everything in my life, where it's not about a genre. It's not about a clique. It's not about a group of people, whatever you want to call it. It's about the vibration of whatever that is. Mm-hmm. Like if it's like, speaking of music, like if you listen to music, and I can tell within like the first 2 seconds of a song if I'm gonna like it. It comes on and I'm like, oh, okay, listen to that. There's a vibration there. There's like a thing, and like the lyrics and everything else comes secondary to that. And if it's a really good song, then those things kind of build upon that initial feeling. Like I think you're probably the same way. We're tone chasers. So it's like when we hear that beautiful tone, I don't care what genre it is. It just feeds my nervous system.
Or that spirit. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So how did all this start for you? Like your music, take me back to like when you were 2.
Well, I started playing the keyboard when I was 3.
All right, that's close enough.
And so, so no, you started at 3. You're asked out. You missed out on all the opportunities that you could have gotten at 2.
Right. Yeah, right. You're
So
you're playing with Big Jim dolls and the GI Joe or whatever at 2.
yeah, like I remember my grandparents had this keyboard, and there was a little jack on the bottom. They had these big old headphones, and I would sit with the headphones on and just hit all of the buttons.
Mhm.
You know, what's this button do? What's this button do? And you know, it was mainly by ear and picking out. My grandfather would play things. I remember him playing. The first 2 songs I learned were the beer barrel polka and In the Mood, like the Glenn Miller In the Mood, ba ba da ba doo ba doo ba da ba doo ba, right?
So that's
And
my dad was a huge fan of. My dad was 40 when I was born. That was his music.
okay,
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember learning In the Mood because he would play it and sitting down at the keyboard, and it's like, oh, that kind of sounds like, oh, that, you know, I didn't know what intervals were or chords or anything. It's just like, oh, these are the same sounds, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I ended up playing a second half to that, and I was like, oh, well, that's the second section, right? And I remember playing it for me. I'm like, oh yeah, I learned this song, and then I got through that section and I went into the next section, and he's like, he's like, that's great. He's like, what's that second part? I'm like, well, what do you mean? That's the second half of the song. He goes, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Wrote your first
and I
song
just,
at 3.
yeah, it was like my first kind of
As I
improvised
said,
thing.
You're different. You're different.
So yeah, so I went from that, and I in the 6th grade I started playing the drums. I went to the snare drum, you know. So I was one of those kids with the big ass snare drum that you had to try to walk down the aisle of the bus,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, you're hitting kids' knees and stuff like that. And yeah, and I played snare drum for a while, and it got to the point where, you know, I would play for family. And they're like, oh, Kevin, play something for the family, you know. And I, okay, pull the snare drum out, and I'd start playing my rudiments, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And within about a minute, they would just start talking and completely ignore me. And I was like, this totally sucks. Like, nobody cares about drummers.
Yeah, which of course we know is not the truth.
Totally.
Yeah.
But you know, I wanted
But
something that
family
was going to
functions.
engage people.
Yes.
And
Even at 6th grade.
even at 6th grade, yeah. So you know, I played in the orchestra and stuff, and I realized that everybody that was getting the attention, or or at least they were focusing on what the melody was doing. So it was melody. And I was like, oh, so that's really the ticket. That's really what I want, what I'm looking for. And so my grandfather also played a little guitar. He knew like 4 chords. And I remember so I was 12, and he had this old Harmony archtop guitar. And he's like, oh, okay, here's how these chords go. And he'd show me and was like, oh, okay. And, you know, it's like I didn't even think about it then until I started teaching a couple years later, where I had picked it up really quick. Like I was playing songs in the first hour of playing guitar, you know, and my chord changes were there. You know, I didn't have to fight and go, where this is finger. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And,
It's a gift.
you know, playing the keyboard and stuff like that obviously helped. But
Now, when you're playing the keyboard,
it's very natural.
Here's a question for you. When you were playing the keyboard at 3 years old and 4 years old and 5 years old, that was just kind of like you having playtime. Am I right?
Yeah.
You didn't have piano lessons.
Not until later.
Okay. When did how old were you when you had piano lessons?
I think 13.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So all that early, because I'm as you may or may not know, I'm into early childhood education too. That's one of my things. And just experiencing the music and getting your what I say is getting your hands dirty with it. Just experiment. It's, you know, that matters. That matters. And that's what you're saying is that's all I did is I had fun with it. I was using my ear and I was making it a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guitar. So how long did it take to you to outdo your grandfather?
On the guitar?
Yeah.
Oh, in that first hour.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And you know, my dad played a little bit too, and he played things like Mama Kin and some, you know, Aerosmith. I
All
remember
right.
Zeppelin. I don't remember how many songs that he knew. I was like, oh, you know, I was playing a little bit, and he would show me, and that's kind of where I learned my power chords.
Okay.
And the same kind of thing, like I learned every song that he played, and I would just play it right back to him. And
that is a gift.
yeah, I was just like, I love to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I see, and I'm sure you see a lot of this too, which is very tragic, is like people will have like a proclivity to something, and the talent gets them this far, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I can do this and I can do that, and I really like doing this, but then something gets a little bit hard, and it's like, yeah, I'm not going to practice. Yeah. Well, for me, I was like, I got to get that.
Yeah.
It was like a video game. Like, I got to get to the next level.
Right.
Oh, hold on, Mom. Next level, just one more level.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? One more scale, one more whatever. So yeah, man, I practiced like 6, sometimes 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Yep. So who were your first, I think I know the answer to this. Some of your first teachers.
So I had this woman whose name was Jean Yon, who she was my first guitar teacher.
Okay.
And then I got to the point where she wasn't able to show me anymore on the guitar, and then that's when I started taking piano lessons from her.
Okay.
And so what was really awesome about that is that she had a Thursday night jam out in her barn, and so they would have like 20, sometimes more people that would come every Thursday night and just jam all night of like old school country music, bluegrass, that kind of thing. So it was basically 3 banger songs, G, C, and D.
All right.
You know, so I could just sit there, and at that time I didn't have an acoustic guitar, so I'm sitting there with my electric guitar.
Your Megadeth t-shirt.
But I heard all of those songs that were like really easy to pick up, and I had to do it by ear because nobody was throwing sheet music in front of me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, then I started to realize, oh, I don't know this song, but I can tell that they're going to the 4 chord. I can tell that they're going to the dominant chord, you know, and all of a sudden I was picking songs up like really quickly because I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me was priceless. Education.
Learning by doing. Doing, having the opportunities to do that. So we have a mutual friend of Gus Aguirre. He was
awesome.
Yeah. See, he was See, Gus goes in and out of teaching, but he had a somewhat of a important role in your upbringing.
Gus was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, like I didn't realize, you know, then I was probably 14 maybe, and he's only a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But I didn't realize that then for whatever reason.
If I'm 2 years out of high school, and if I'm teaching a senior, I'm an adult. Yeah. He's a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember he showed me my first pentatonic scales, all the different places, you know, and I remember the first time he showed me like the, you know, the standard A minor pentatonic thing. I was like, okay, this is cool. And I came back and he said, okay, we'll play your scale. And I went, and he was like, wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you probably played it faster than he did.
Well, all I wanted to do was impress him, you know?
Yeah.
So like after that, man, it was like, anyway, but it got to the point where he invited me to his house where he played with his brother. You know, his brother came over and played drums, and we were just jamming in his garage. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yep. I played with them in the, let's see, early 2000s. So that's probably the same house you went to.
Funny.
Or yeah. So all right. So getting into high school, where did your music take you through high school?
Well, I was always a metalhead. So
Okay.
I mean, that was the biggest thing. You know, I feel like that I'm a metalhead trapped inside a folk singer's body.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not a bad combination.
and
As I said, it's all about the mix.
Yeah.
That's
So I was listening
that's your
to
secret sauce.
I guess.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was in a band called Odie then, and from seventh and eighth grade, and then into high school, and we played Ozzy Osbourne and Megadeth and Iron Maiden and all of that stuff, and it was awesome because, you know, and for me, I had to learn all of that stuff by ear. You know, I was learning the guitar solos. My cousin, we needed a bass player. My cousin played bass, so I was teaching him how to play bass, like on the spot. It's like, oh, come to rehearsal, I'll teach you how to play the parts.
Which is no easy task for some of the Ozzy stuff, because those are some good bass lines, and Maiden for that matter.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gallop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He picked it up super quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. The Iron Maiden songs are written on a bass.
Really?
Yeah. Most of the songs are written by their bass player who does not play guitar.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's if you're wondering why the bass is always out in the forefront, that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Guitar players are just filling in, adding color to the bass line.
Very cool. Well, you know, they had their own sound, and that was it. That was that bass that was, you know, because he would play power chords and things like that, right? On the bass.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So Odie, how often did you guys play?
I mean, we practiced any time that we could in my basement. So we had the whole setup, and
your parents were saints.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't like it was trashy music. I mean, we were
Oh, I know, yeah.
Playing some awesome stuff, and you know, we probably didn't realize it, but you know, we were pretty decent.
The other thing is that your parents were kind of rockers too, right? You said your dad was knew how to play Mama Kin. Yeah. My parents were like, as I said, Glenn Miller, Johnny Mathis,
right?
Benny Goodman. That kind of, my dad was big band and swing and that kind of stuff. My mom was easy listening, and Judas Priest in the basement and thunderous drum sets. That we practiced twice, and you got to find another place.
Oh no!
And I get it because I now have students down in my basement at same place. I live in my family home, and the walls just go. It is like thunders. It is thunders. It's wonderful, but I love music. So yeah. The OD Gen. Okay, so how long did that last?
Maybe 3 years. I can't remember when we stopped playing. I had then joined a bluegrass band, and we called ourselves Deviation, which was you know, we were all big Bela Fleck fans.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was named after one of Bela's albums. That was called Deviation. And
oddly enough, sounds like a metal band.
Yeah, like that's what everybody said. Like, you know, guys don't sound like a bluegrass band. It's like, well, we're not really a bluegrass band, but
yeah.
We have those instruments.
A new grass band.
Yeah. It was definitely a new grass band.
So who is Insura?
Inertia.
Inertia.
Yeah, spelled incorrectly.
Okay. On purpose.
On purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. So the bass player that was playing in Deviation was also the bass player for Inertia. And he was like, we need a guitar player and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So So I went and joined that band, and that was like this folk rock kind of thing. Giant harmonies, like four of us, we would do 4-part harmonies, acoustic guitars, drums, bass. That was a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
And then I had gone off to Lebanon Valley College, and that just kind of like
Okay.
went to the wayside.
Okay, so when did you start singing?
Probably about then. I mean, I've always sang stuff, but
Were you the guy, the Iron Maiden singer?
I love singing that stuff. People don't want to hear me sing that stuff. Like if I were to list out my favorite singers, it would be like, Iron Maiden. Definitely Ronnie James Dio is top of that list.
Same.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
You expect that from me, but I wouldn't expect that from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Jeff
his
Tate.
words too.
Yes.
I loved his words.
Yeah. Jeff Tate from Queensryche.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, what's his name? The Spence, the guy from Halloween. Halloween? I think he's German. Man, I'm just kind of an aside to this.
All right.
If you listen, do you remember Halloween?
I do.
Like I Went Out and all those old, and then they got like a new singer, and I thought something happened to him, but no. So like now he like releases this stuff. He's in Halloween again, and he sounds exactly like he did when he was 20.
Yeah, and he's probably 60 now.
Maybe late 50s, I guess. I don't know, but amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the kind of stuff I love. That kind of like operatic kind of stuff. That doesn't fit too well doing bluegrass.
Of course.
Yet.
Yeah. But maybe I'm there's possibilities of more mixtures and such. Maybe not metal grass. Maybe not.
It's got to be done in a very delicate.
I understand.
You got to ease into it so that people go, okay, give me a little more.
Yeah. Yep. So deviation led into voxology, which is probably when I met you. It's probably 20 years or so.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
I think that was at Klingers. You were playing with Jose.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it wasn't Klingers then.
I know Pep's Grill used to sit in with us.
What was it called then? It's the one down by Edders.
That was Klingers.
Okay, even then?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That's when the only time I ever played there, it was a Klingers.
Okay.
It was Klingers, but yeah, other bands have done Klingers in Hanover. I thought you went to Hanover because Life on Mercury played in Hanover once too. But well, yeah, Klingers. And I remember you used to always show up at Pep Grill when Life on Mercury played.
Yeah. Right.
Mutual friend Jose Johnson and
Mike Evans, the man.
Mike Evans. You went to school with Mike?
Yep.
So explain voxology.
So Les Vonderland, who was one of the vocalists in Inertia, I had come back from college, and I was like, you know what? We could probably make more money as a duo and do the music that we want. Like sometimes bringing music to certain bands and they kind of like, well, we can't play that, it's too hard or whatever. I thought, well, let's just put all of that aside and we just do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we've been, we haven't played obviously in the last year because of pandemic, but yeah, we still play every once in a while. She had moved to New York, so the gigs are few and far between, but so mainly
never broke up.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. So mainly now I play solo stuff.
Yeah. So voxology, explain to our listeners and our our listeners what kind of thing that was. It wasn't newgrass anymore so much.
Yeah, not so much. I mean, I would play guitar or banjo or something like that, switch back and forth, but we would always sing harmonies. It was just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just kind of like a folk duo.
Mm-hmm. Writing your
You
own
know,
songs.
yeah, writing our own stuff. We released a bunch of albums. You know, if you're familiar with Gillian Welch, David Rawlings, that kind of stuff and more.
That was
You
your
know,
blueprint.
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So then from there, Rue de la Pompe. I'm screwing it up. Go ahead.
Rue de la Pompe.
Is that right?
That is, yeah, it
All
means
right.
in French, it means the street of the pump.
All right. Okay.
But in Gypsy Jazz, the rhythm that they play was like do tick do tick do tick do
Okay.
tick do, right? It's called le pompe, the
Yeah.
pump. It's like, you know, like a,
Yeah.
it's a pumping rhythm. So, I don't. There's a street, actual street, I think, in France somewhere, wherever it's called Rue de la Pompe,
Okay.
and that's kind of where the band was named from. But I'm kind of like I don't know. The band plays and they have different guest musicians. There's like a core group of 3 of them,
Yeah.
and then so they'll have somebody come in to play clarinet or somebody come in,
Mhm.
and I started coming in with the guitar, and they started having me more because it was more like a traditional gypsy jazz, you know, hot club of France kind of thing.
That's wonderful.
So
So
so that's a lot of fun.
We're two rabbit holes we're going to go down. When did you start playing banjo? Like seriously?
Serious banjo?
Well, yeah.
I mean, I started playing banjo shortly after guitar, but I never owned one until maybe 2008, maybe something like that. I got one. I went to a festival called Merle Fest, and Ohm Banjos was there, this is my Ohm banjo here, and I dreamed about this banjo 3 nights in a row, and I said, that's it, I got to get one, and they ended up giving me like an endorsement, so I was able to get, you know, a really expensive banjo for still expensive.
Yeah.
but less expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of dove into it, and you know, I've always done like sort of like the 3-finger bluegrass thing, but when I started getting into the clawhammer stuff, that was it for me. You know, like I was saying about how the frequency or the vibration of something.
Yeah.
Clawhammer banjo just has this earthy, powerful thing for me. So I don't really do the bluegrass thing unless I want some kind of like role in a song or something, but mainly it's the clawhammer. So I've been doing that. Actually, I tell you, I played the Winter Olympic Games in 2002, which was out in Utah, right?
Okay.
And that was when I first started playing clawhammer. I was staying with a friend out there, and he had a clawhammer banjo book. And I remember sitting in the house, like waiting between shows, and just going through that book and learning how to do the clawhammer thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's 2002.
Very percussive kind of thing. Clawhammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I imagine those skills can be applied to lots of stuff. Like I bought a clawhammer ukulele book. You know, it's like they took clawhammer technique and they applied it to a ukulele.
Yeah.
Imagine, yeah. And also bass. I would love to try that on bass. That'd be like a Victor Wooten thing, probably.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so clawhammer clawhammer banjo. Okay, so and then there is a completely different rabbit hole that is gypsy jazz. So when did that whole thing start with you?
I don't remember when I learned about Django. I don't remember the exact time, but I remember dabbling in different things. You know, people would talk about Django as being this amazing person, and but I really got into it when I started playing with Rue de la Pompe. I was like, man, I got to get my chops up. So then I would, for 2 years, I listened to like nothing but gypsy jazz. I was in the shower. It was just constantly on because I knew that I had to.
This is
If you,
2016. That is not true. I like back in the day, you played the crap out of that stuff though when I knew you. Like when we were together. You had
yeah,
it before. You're being modest. I didn't really know. I just dabbled. No, you didn't. But okay, I'll go with that. But you could play. In other words, I knew you as that. That's one of the things I knew. And then you tried to show me that rhythm, and it's like, no, man, no, it's not.
it's tough, isn't it?
It's a very, there's a nuance to it that you have to live in France for a while. And
see, like people say that stuff, and it's not true. It's like
in it.
you have to immerse yourself into it. It has to become, if you want to learn how to speak a particular language, it might be better to just go to that country where they only speak that language.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. I was like, I'm only going to listen to gypsy jazz, and a ton of it. And actually, what I did is I pulled it up on Pandora because it played all these different musicians, not just like one or two people that I'm going to listen to. Borelli Legrand. I'm going to listen to Stokolo Rosenberg. I'm going to listen to, whomever.
Yeah. And
this kind of like, well, I don't know who these people are, but I was just kind of like absorbing it and listen to that. It's like, that's not swing. I mean, it's swinging.
I'm used to swing. I'm used to Freddie Green.
Right. Freddie Green is just like bop, 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 bop.
Not the same.
4 on the floor, right?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that second upstroke is pushed so close to the next downbeat, right? That, man, it just drives it. And when it's done really well, it's like, man, that is really moving. You got to have your rhythm chops, and it's got to be on, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the way the picking is, where mainly it's you always start with a downstroke every time you change a string.
Okay.
And so like going down is really nice because it's kind of like sweep picking, but instead of sweeping up, you're always going down, 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 down. Like you're kind of like bouncing, going up the string. So, man, some of these guys, if you ever watch Angelo DeBar, I mean, they're all fantastic, but Angelo DeBar plays so fast, and like, how is he doing those downstrokes so quickly? It's crazy good.
Yeah.
and the notes are, because you have all those downstrokes, they're just so in your face that it's not like, alternating picking gets this kind of smooth kind of thing. But then when you're changing the strings with all those downstrokes, you get all of these different kind of syncopated accents that, to me, it's just so indicative to that music. And if you listen to like Arabic oud players, they play the same way, and it has that feel to it. I love that.
Well, that's the culture. That's some culture in there.
Yeah.
What I found fascinating about the gypsy jazz in France is the fact that it is a cultural thing within France, and it is something the father passes to their son, and the 3, say 5, 6, 7-year-olds are completely destroying the guitar.
Yeah.
And it is, I'm not even sure how it's done, but it's like, we as educators have to be fascinated with that, because we were always brought up that you have to learn how to read, you have to learn all your music theory, and certainly I don't advocate illiteracy, or I'm you know what I mean, but there are so many different ways of learning stuff that a 7-year-old, it's kind of reminds me of the Suzuki thing.
Yeah.
We're learning by ear, we're learning by feel. Okay.
Yeah.
So watching like I think the movie was called Young Django. And it trace people throughout France spreading their music around, but within the family, dads and 8-year-old kids are jamming together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that needs to happen. that
It's
that is
yeah,
the bond that you would have. I don't know. That was just wonderful to see, and
you're
it's
right.
especially as an educator too, because it's like if you think any kind of thing that you have to start with reading. Okay, it starts with rhythm. It starts with for
Right.
me, it starts with rhythm. But anyway, so I'm sure yeah, as I said, I've always admired. I remember the first time we were down at Jeff Hostetter's, there was a Frank jazz, gypsy jazz, normal jazz.
Vignola.
Yeah, you were killing it then. You were. So it's
Thank
like,
you.
yeah, I like what you say. I only dabbled. That is you dabbling. You for the rest of the world, that's not dabbling. That was doing it. So okay, mandolin and some of your other instruments that you're involved with. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the mandolin I've been playing for a while. I used to work at a music store in Mechanicsburg called Reed's Instrument Shop, and Ginny, who owned that place, had banjos and mandolins and fiddles and guitars and stuff like that. And sometimes it was my job to just tune all the instruments. So I would tune up a mandolin and be like, "Oh, how's this thing tuned? Okay, here's how you play a G chord. Here's how you would do this. You need, and I would just sit there and like write songs or whatever, and that's kind of how I started on the mandolin. I didn't own a mandolin until I got this one, which was 5 years ago, maybe. But I've been playing for a long time.
Yeah. Well, what did you have years ago? It wasn't a mandolin, but it was
the Octave Mandolin.
was an octave mandolin. Okay.
Yeah, I sold that, unfortunately, but
okay. Yeah, that was the thing that the mandolin. We start with rhythm, using rhythm as the center, and then we branch out, learning your basic chords and your keys and all that kind of stuff. Is that your kind of mindset?
Yeah, like I can read on a guitar.
Huh?
I can read on a guitar, but I can't read on the mandolin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just it's my ear, and
mm-hmm.
I don't really need to read on a mandolin at this point.
How much do you read on a guitar?
What do you mean?
In other words, on the gig, do you ever use that ability?
Oh, no. If I'm playing guitar, unless I'm doing like a musical or something that I get hired for, then we have sheet music. Yeah. But other than that,
where did you learn to read?
When I started playing the keyboard when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we had this big old card that kind of sat down over top of the keys, and you can see C, D, E, F, G, all that stuff. And then I remember having these big books of songs, and you probably remember this, where the notes were like this big, and it had the letter inside of it.
Yeah.
It's like C, D, like gigantic, and I would just play through those songbooks and just kind of, I know this thing. I remember like playing old, what's his name? Sweet Caroline.
Neil Diamond.
Like Neil Diamond songs and things like that were, Song Blue and whatever. I love that stuff.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I learned to read, but it wasn't until I got into high school in music theory class where like I really needed to read. I needed to know my intervals. I needed to know the chords, and I wasn't really that quick at it. I could pick it out and I knew where they were, but so I remember sitting in study hall and I would just take a sheet of paper and write out a staff, a whole bunch of staffs all over the page, and then I would just put random notes like 100 notes all over the page, and then just see how quickly I could, oh, C, D, E, F, F, A, you know,
Yeah.
and I drilled that until it just kind of got in there.
But then you apply that to the guitar.
Right.
And that's another step. That's another step.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you started out not reading.
Right. Yeah, it was all by ear.
On guitar. So a lot of our listeners can get something out of this. Is if you want to get into reading, I guess so the next step would be like you can read on one instrument and you know where the notes are on the staff, but then you got to locate those notes on your instrument, and it's you can organize it in your scale fingerings, like the gauge fingerings or whatever. But and you don't read, and I'm guessing you don't read with a claw hammer.
You know, tablature, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's writing standard notation for claw hammer banjo.
Or any banjo, I would guess.
Or any banjo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just not realistic. Yeah, I agree.
No.
I agree. So
I will say, you know, as someone who is starting out, and maybe you see this in your own students, that one, reading is incredibly important to me, because you get to know the notes. It's like very hard to learn theory by reading tab. You know, you're not going to get that mental note connection to what you're playing,
yeah.
right? Learning songs, I think, should come even above that. As important as reading music is, learning songs should be important to that. And like, to me, when I was learning songs, like, I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to play.
Yes.
Show me anything. I don't care if it's.
Don't be so choosy. Anything.
Don't be so dang choosy.
Anything I'm capable of pulling off. And that's to this day, because I've taken up drums and I've taken up anything that falls in my sphere of something I can play. I'll do it. It's like, and I'm not so like I have no guilty pleasures in music.
Yeah.
You talk about Sweet Caroline. I had a really good experience with that song, with dueling pianos, being in a bar, and it
awesome.
just was so good, such good energy. Every time I hear it, I go back to that. So
yeah,
there's no reason to be embarrassed by a song that somebody somewhere considers cheesy, because whatever, I like what I like.
How many times have you heard a student say, well, I didn't practice because I just didn't really like the song?
What you don't understand is I'm not teaching you the song. I'm teaching you how to rip and destroy. I'm teaching you to speak a language. The song is just the vehicle to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I personally would never, ever in a million years think of saying that to a teacher.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Even to this day, if I had a teacher, you show me whatever you think that I need to learn, and I'm open. Empty cup, dude.
Yeah, right. Right.
But people don't, I mean, some of them do. I have awesome students, but you know, a lot of people over the years, they don't show up as empty cup. I want this, and you show me how to do this, and if you don't do it in a week, then maybe I'll find somebody
They want
else.
it to be like a video game.
Yeah.
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 Do you do video games?
Man, I used to play all the time. And now it's like, I'd rather just sit for hours just, oh, what's this note do?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm an Atari kid, but
me too.
That was before guitar though. But it's like anyway. So you're as a guitar educator, because when did you start teaching?
14.
14. And what was your approach at 14?
I had a guy, it was a guy that I had met at that jam, because I started playing guitar at 12, you know, maybe a couple of months before I turned 13. And so at 14, this guy was like, oh my gosh, you know how to play Back in Black and all these AC/DC songs. He's like, show me how to play them and I'll pay you $5 a lesson. It's like, yeah. So here I am, this 14-year-old kid, and this 35-year-old guy, I forget how old he was then. And he came over to the house. We went into the basement. He handed me a $5 bill, and I would show him power chords and AC/DC songs for a while. And it really, it was kind of easy for me to do it, because I was immediately trying to figure out, like, okay, he's not able to do this. How can I show him a different way? So from the very beginning, it's like you said, like kind of fake it as you make it, learn as you earn kind of mentality. I was just having fun. And then all of a sudden I started getting more students, and, I've been teaching ever since then.
That's wonderful. Like in high school, how many students would you have?
Oh, like I didn't have a schedule. Like I might have had like one or two that would come to the house, and it wasn't really until
after college.
No. No, I take that back. I don't, because I would teach lessons at Reed's Instrument Shop, but I don't remember when that happened. Okay. I think it was before I was 18. I might have been 17 or 16, something like that.
Okay.
When I started teaching there.
Okay. Okay. So that was so what has been your approach? I'm guessing. Yeah, I could guess, but since you're here.
It's a hard one, because every single person is different. That's and they
approach.
Yeah, like they come in, and usually I have them, I'll say, okay, here's basic technique. We're going to start off, here are the parts of the guitar. Do you know this? Like I try to figure out, like, what do they know? And then say, oh, this is how I want you to hold your fingers. If you do this, and then I'll say, okay, play this little scale for me. And then I'll start to go, oh, what if you moved your finger here? And if you hold your pick this way? So that's like the beginning of it. And then once I see how they take to that information, I can guess which direction I want to go, because, everybody processes information differently.
Yes.
And some people, if you know the word grok from Robert Heinlein, some people grok it. They just, okay, this is where it goes. And
what was that word?
Grok. It's GROK.
Okay.
Stranger in a Strange Land is the book that it's from. And it actually became...
I'm writing this down. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and so some people, you got to like grab their fingers and place it where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And none of that determines how far they'll go. It never does. How far they potentially can go matters, but how far they actually go, that doesn't determine it. But it determines how I send them on a direction. Because, like, I really learned to read from the Berkeley method books, like the modern method for guitar stuff.
Yeah, studying him when I was in high school, Bill Levitt. Yeah.
And that book moves really fast for a beginner.
Yeah, it does.
And so if I see people picking things up really quick, I'm like, this is where you need to go. Yeah. Because if we do this, then I can branch out and get some other stuff for you that normally maybe someone who just wants to do campfire stuff it's irrelevant for them.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, like getting the basic chords, getting some songs. But teaching guitar is incredibly difficult. It's not like, because it's a polyphonic instrument, meaning that you can play more than one note at a time, means that you can play melody, you can play rhythm, you can do finger style, you can play with the pick, you can do all of this stuff. But like a piano, and I mean no disrespect to piano players, because I started off there, but a monkey can go up and hit a note, and just, a cat can walk on top of the piano and hit a note, and it's going to sound as good hitting that key as it does if Bruce Hornsby plays it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But on a guitar, because there's such more physicality, where do you put your finger? Same with violin, any of the string instruments. How hard you press, how much musculature do you have? Oh, I can't get the F chord, so I'm just not going to play it for 3 years. But on a piano, you could say, play that F chord, and they go bang, and play
I
it.
remember the F chord was a existential crisis for me. I remember saying, I can't get this F chord down. Should I quit guitar? I was 12 years old or something. I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was probably 11, 10.
Yeah.
I can't get it down, but I love guitar. So what should I do? And I'm thinking, well, I'm not gonna quit. I'm not
Nice.
gonna let that stop me, because I do enjoy all this. I just can't play the F chord. And bar chords were continually. That was the next level of not being able to play the F chord. The bar chord was another nemesis. And then that's, oh gosh, I can't do this. But I always had an acoustic guitar until probably 13, 14 years old. And it was harder on that. Then I had, my friend gave me the tablature. His teacher taught him with tablature. And it was Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
Yeah.
And I learned to play the tablature of that song, and that put my hand in the perfect alignment to play bar chords, and I never struggled with bar chords again.
Awesome. Which
is a weird place to, how did you master bar chords?
You know what? Same thing.
Through AC/DC power chords.
That's how I learned it. AC/DC power chords. I had a big old book of AC/DC.
Nobody teaches you that at Berkeley.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But there's a thousand roads to Mecca, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's what keeps it fun, teaching fun.
But like, so I was going to say, like with the piano, I could play melody with this hand and hold a chord, it's like, oh, it's music. It's music right away. I'm playing songs right away. On the guitar, oh, well, here's some chords. Well, it just sounds like I'm going jing, 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 or playing single notes, 3 line mice, whatever.
Yeah.
To get to the point where you can like do things that actually sounds like a guitar piece, dag, you gotta play a long time.
Yeah. Well,
it's
for me, it was longer than, I wasn't the wonderkin you were. In other words, I started off with the Alfred book, and it was, okay, it took me 3 months to get all 6 strings, learning how to read. I learned how to read from lesson 1, but I don't know how long it didn't take like as long as, but I did exactly what my teacher told me. I didn't get in a tablature until year 2 or 3. It was Stairway to Heaven was the first song I ever learned in tab.
Awesome.
And it was and that was Styx Made Easy for Guitar. It was like really goofy arrangements of Styx songs in wrong keys. And it's like, that was the books that I would be given. And I think is a poor education. I just go right to the real music.
But I hope a lot of people who are just starting to play guitar hear you talk about that, because they think that it's like a dead end road to go through that material, but here you are, like you're a player and you do all of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
It's like no, like this stuff is important. Just have a little patience.
Yeah, it was worth keeping. As I said, I'm glad I didn't quit after the F chord, because imagine, and that those are life lessons too.
Yeah.
You apply that thing. So parents, if you're listening now, this kind of tenacity can be applied to everything. So your kids need to learn this kind of tenacity.
Yes. And I'll say this just for all of the kids out there. Mm-hmm. I've always had, in school, they always talk about discipline. You got to have discipline, right? And I think that for some weird reason, that kind of discipline in our little minds thinks that, oh, we're being disciplined, right?
Mm-hmm. It's got to be fun.
It's got to be unfun. It's discipline. I'm getting disciplined. It's in there. So I've always had pretty good discipline. Like if I set myself to do it, I'm going to do it. Dang it. Right. And, but here is what it really is. It's the resistance to something that is new, something that's hard, anything. It's resistance. And so and I'm just going to keep this in like the confines of being a guitar player, but the F chord is like resistance incarnate, right? Because it steps in and goes, do you got it? Do you have enough cojones to do it?
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I don't think you have it.
Yeah.
And then the player usually goes, that's hard. And then
worthless and weak.
yeah. And you know, all the mind games start happening like, well, I'm not even going to try it because if I do it and I don't, then I'm a failure. Right.
Yeah.
So all of that is resistance. I'm resisting something that's really good for me. So discipline, I think, rather than saying you need to be disciplined, you have to overcome resistance.
Yes.
Because resistance is evil.
Yes.
Yep. Ultimate evil.
Yeah.
It happens in everything. Like I said, I'm just going to keep it in the confines of guitar, but you know, if you can get over your resistance to anything, to a type of music, to a chord, to an odd time signature, who cares what it is? Finger picking, flat picking, two-handed tapping, you know, you know it because as soon as it comes in,
certain styles of music.
Yeah. Yeah. Let it go and dive in head first.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like the other thing is like try. Try is kind of like not really an action word. Try allows for failure. I'm gonna try, and if I don't do it, at least I tried. It's like, man, trying, you're kind of saying I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my life, I failed at everything except for those things that I know was not an option. Okay. Okay. So if it needed to happen in my heart, then, and I had control over it, and there's plenty of things in this world that you don't have control over because it's beyond, there's some things that are beyond your control, but we'll just stick to guitar and in music. If it is if I say no is not an option, like for example, getting into teaching, it wasn't an easy go with me. It was something that I had to work at. And when I first started, I had people that were not supportive of what I was doing. I was working with people who were not, there's no synergy. There was synergy, if there's such a word. They were trying to work, they're working against me, but I love doing it from lesson 2, from week 2. So no is not an option. Getting published. Okay. I write it, getting published. No is not an option. Whatever I have to do to make it happen is what's gonna, if it's important to you. And some people don't have that. Some people aren't gonna be like that. They just want to be fun. It just want to be fun. But understand it is you that decides what you're gonna do. And I think there's all sorts of, as I said, stuff that applies to everything else in life. Character building stuff that we're talking about. So what are you doing now?
Well, like I said, I have the instrumental monthly thing that I do each month. I just released, if you go on to soundslice.com.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
I am enrolled in that. I tried working with it. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just released a course, a guitar course on Soundslice.
Okay.
And so if you go on to just their main store page, my thing, it's called Riff Monkey. It comes up. It's 101 guitar riffs, and it's all acoustic guitar stuff. And you know, if you're looking for 101 finger exercises just to kind of get you out of a rut, or to kind of like warm up with, you know, perfect for that. If you're looking for ideas of getting you out of your improv rut, you know,
Yeah.
because they're very melodic lines. They are meant to be played in all different keys all over the fretboard. And so yeah, like I had.
You say it's acoustic based?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go on there, there's four of the videos that you can look at for free. And
Okay.
it kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to expect for the next 98, 97.
All right.
Math.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just released that a week and a half ago.
Mhm.
So that's brand new. I'm working on a clawhammer. I wrote a clawhammer banjo book, and I'm about halfway through doing that. I'm taking it from the book and I'm making it into the sound slice format, so people can like interact with like the videos and all that kind of stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah, and trying to get gigs.
Are you teaching students?
Yeah, online. I teach everything
So
from this chair and
okay. Are you accepting students?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So as I said in this YouTube video, I will any information you give me, I will gladly share with the listeners. Now there is the matter of July 13th. I'm super excited that you're a part of this. We Love Guitar Nerds Guitar Summit 2021 Guitar Summit. We haven't even talked about what you're going to teach about yet, but I can only imagine. So I will be there, of course. Okay, it's actually going to be somewhat like this. Okay, so you're gonna teach our listeners, but anyway, so Kevin, thank you so much for all this.
Thank
So
you.
much. This needed to happen years ago.
Yeah, man, this is awesome.
Yeah. So we'll do a part 2 sometime.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we could probably talk all day long.
Yeah, about guitar pedagogy, because that's part of this. That this turned into yeah, it was good. Thank you so
It
much.
has to be there.
Yes. Yep. Guitar pedagogy, everybody. It is a study. It is a rabbit hole. Anyway, see you. Thank you, guitar nerds. Till next time.
Guitar nerds.